Hello, everyone. My name is Danny, and I'm going to review Marshall. Marshall is based on the incredible true story of future Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall in one of the landmark cases of his life. It follows the young lawyer to conservative Connecticut to defend a black chauffeur charged with sexual assault and attempted murder of his white socialite employer. Muzzled by a segregational court, Marshall partners with a courageous young Jewish lawyer, and together they mount the defense in an environment of racism and anti-Semitism. This is a 2017 movie, rated PG-13. It stars Chadwick Boseman, Josh Gad, and Sterling K. Brown, and Kate Hudson. The first thing that ever needs to be said about this movie by anybody is the fact that it deals with race. I think this one handles it fine. I think the times that it kind of bluntly announces that it's dealing with the issue, it seems a little pushed, it seems a little heavy, and it seems a little bit out of place. It's really hard for movies that deal with race to feel like that, but this one seems so much about the case, the lawyers, the story, the acting and stuff that it just feels weird when they have something happen, like somebody getting beat up because they're involved with this thing. It just seems out of place. I don't know. I know they were dealing with all of it at this time of history, but it just feels a little pushed. Um, I'm glad that they announced something about Martin Luther King is at the end, sort of, because it could have been about a lot of different things, and I think they had to kind of prioritize what they wanted to talk about and what they didn't. So that kind of leads me to my first point is that it skips some important things along the way for the movie. It needed to talk about this, it needed to talk about that, and it just kind of skips over it. I didn't really know how to explain this, but I wanted to bring it up. It talks about something, and then it has to go back to the court case. It talks about something, and then the guys just agree, or they just move on with their day. It's it, it's not bad, and I don't know if they can explain every little thing like I wanted them to, but it does skip along, and it does seem a little skittish. And I don't know how they would fix it, but it just feels a little bit like maybe, oh my gosh, we only have 2 hours to talk about everything, and so we have to skip this, this, and this, and this, and this. And that's just what it felt like. So it just, I noticed it halfway through the movie. I was like, well, they're just kind of moving this along, aren't they? But there's so much material and there's so much stuff to talk about. That's why maybe some of those things that happen, like people getting called out for their involvement with something, or kind of sometimes that they felt like they have to talk about race issues, kind of felt out of place because it felt like they had enough in this movie and it was maybe a little too long, so they had to cut some other things. Um, Generally, this movie is very funny. And I wouldn't call it funny haha. I'd call it funny smart. Like the jokes that are made are very good, and I think that not everybody will understand the humor in this movie. I think that it'll go above a lot of people's heads. I think that the way that people talk is just a little bit too much more refined for people who would like to watch this kind of movie. Not everybody knows who Langston Hughes was. It brings up him. I just felt like it was a little bit more like they were trying for a different audience to watch this movie. Like they're telling people not everybody can watch this movie. That's what I felt like the message was. I'm sorry to be so serious, but I think that's what they were going for. Kind of along those lines of, things they should have really been doing at the end, the way they're talking to each other is great. They're very serious about things. They're very intense. And then we have to hear about something about 4 or 5 times. We hear from from Josh Gad at the beginning, how he just doesn't want any involvement with this case. We hear that about 4 times. And then towards the end, they're talking about if this man is innocent or not. His name's Joseph. And like when it comes around for the 3rd or 4th time, I would have expected Joseph to say, hell no. Not taking a plea deal. But what do? They talk about it. They're very sincere in their conversation. And it's like, come on. When are we going to, Chadwick Boseman delivers this awesome speech about 3/4 of the way through. And he turns Joseph into pudding with how intense and how sincere he is. And he says, you're not ever taking a deal. And we get through that scene. And then we still have another scene towards the end where Josh Gad and Joseph are talking about a plea deal. It's like, people, what are you doing? Just shove that plea deal where the sun don't shine. It's not that hard. Just say no. You don't have to consider it after Chadwick Boseman gives his heart on the screen about not taking a plea deal. Come on. So, anyways, I didn't think it was delivered quite appropriately. That was one of the weakest points of the movie for me. So, other than that, I did want to touch again on how great Boseman is in this movie. I haven't known him to be a great actor or be a part of great movies or have a huge cast that's just wonderful with him. And this really delivered it for me. I'll tell you, I think that this could be something that I enjoy watching a movie like this. Excuse me. I enjoy watching a movie like this. I don't like watching Salem. I don't mind watching. Detroit wasn't bad, but I don't know. It kind of dragged, and it was kind of about one thing, about how, bad the cops were and stuff of Detroit. This movie just felt like it was for the family. It felt like it was for everybody most of the time, except maybe the humor. And it had a great story, and it was a drama. It had a twist ending. There's only like 2 or 3 points where you're just like, okay, come on, let's go. Other than that, it's fine. So for Marshall, I'm going to give a B rating. I think it was fine. I think it was good. I think it was a little bit disappointing. I think that's the definition of a B. So I would give it a try. I'd watch it and I'd enjoy it and then kind of take it in at the end. That's kind of how I felt. I watched it last night. I'm doing my review next morning. So that's how I would advise you to watch it, is just enjoy it and then think about what it meant to you. I think movies like that are kind of enjoyable, don't you? My name's Danny. My movie review for Marshall. If you like this or any of my other reviews, please give them a try. And if you enjoy my reviews, like and subscribe to my channel. And again, a B for Marshall is very enjoyable. I'll finish with that. Enjoy your movies, guys. Thanks for watching.